This is Metabolic Radio, the podcast dedicated to keeping you informed when it comes to everything fitness. My name is Taylor Empey, and with the help of my co-host Shane Pace, we aim to expose the truths about the health and fitness industry. The information and suggestions given in this podcast should not be considered as clinical or medical advice. Consult with a physician before implementing any information provided on this podcast. Welcome back to another episode of Metabolic Radio.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Let's get it on.
It's the Q&A episode, Shane. Because you never know which episode it is because you're always on your phone. And
I
do all the organizational
I know it probably
stuff.
shocks you because I'm now reading.
You're right. You know what? I shouldn't be shocked.
Why not?
Because you're on your phone every time we start an episode.
I would say it's planned, but it's not.
Ready?
It just happened to happen that way.
Silent, and then
it's already silenced.
Put it on the
I
table
did silence
where your hands
first,
aren't.
But what I was looking at is, I can't even read it to you because it left me. Dang it. Okay, there it is.
I'm gonna cook up another batch of coffee and waft it in front of your face.
You're so rude. See, I was reading. Want to look at myself while I work on myself.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What is that from again?
It's Jim Gaffigan.
Oh, yeah,
He's
yeah.
the man.
That's funny.
I should make a recording so I can listen to myself while I look at myself, while I work on myself, as I leaf through Myself magazine and read about how myself can improve myself. I love his stuff.
Oh, my gosh. Well, enough about you.
Yay! Go, Jim.
Your girl, Abri, right? Right? I got it right this time?
Yeah, go. Just keep
She's
going.
got another question this week.
Sweet.
She says, what are your thoughts on taking branched-chain amino acids, or BCAAs, as a supplement before, during, and after your workout? I want to hear your thoughts.
I'm sure you do.
I can see your thinking.
I was thinking, but there is studies that have shown that they're worth taking, but I'd rather take full proteins personally.
There is depending on their BCAA content, yeah.
There is value to it, but
yeah. So
you wouldn't have to take them before, during, and after. But.
No, it's like 3 servings.
Go big.
So basically, branched-chain amino acids are some of your higher quality amino acids that you're going to get from certain protein sources. But the thing is that depending on the protein source, that's going to determine the amount of BCAA content in those. So basically, amino acids, so branched-chain amino acids are a type of essential amino acid, and you have non-essential and essential amino acids. Essential amino acids are ones that your body does not fully synthesize enough of, so you have to attain that through diet. And essential or non-essentials are ones that your body can synthesize itself, so they're not essential.
They do, yes.
The term for essential amino acids really is conditionally essential, because your body usually just can't get enough by itself and usually needs it through diet. So that's one thing to note. Anyway, proteins are chains of amino acids, and that a complete protein is basically the right combination and amount of specific aminos.
Yep.
And branched chain amino acids are some of the higher quality ones. They're responsible for protein synthesis, muscle growth, and repair and retention. Mm-hmm. They can be used for energy, but like through gluconeogenesis or genesis, but
yep.
That's probably unlikely unless you're actually fully depleted on carbs and fats, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No, they'll go to carbs.
I think BCAAs are marketed a lot as an energy replacement. When it's a function, it can serve, but it's one of those less likely things. What?
Oh, I'm just thinking that I kind of want to move right now.
You want to move?
And if I move...
You can't move.
I know.
The mic is where the mic is.
You will hate me. I'm like...
No, you can move. You just move the mic with you.
Yeah, the problem is not, then you have to put your headset on to see if you knew what it sounds like.
I don't have to do that.
I could mess with you.
You're not going to move. So anyway, thought you had a comment, but guess
No,
not.
that's where the humor was coming in. I'm just envisioning myself moving and you getting mad. No, but yeah, we can finish that out. So, are they usable? Yeah, but I definitely wouldn't take them during. There's no reason to during. If you're going to take them at all,
well, they
have some benefit before.
They what's the term? Dang it. As compare when you take branched chain amino acids as compared to not, they crap, I cannot remember the term. It's related to protein synthesis, but anyway, they keep you in a positive balance.
Yeah, they do, but like I said, you don't have to do it during. During's a waste of time.
I would say no.
I would potentially.
The only time you need to take branched chain amino acids,
when you're not eating enough.
During a workout or in anticipation of a workout.
That's what I was going to say.
Is if you're doing a workout in a fasted state.
Yep.
Okay, which some people do. So if you're doing intermittent fasting, branched chain amino acids
would help.
Pre and intra workout and post would be great. But post workout, you would really just want to end your fast and have full proteins and carbohydrates or fats, whatever you're eating.
Yep.
But there is one population that's going to benefit from branched chain amino acids during the workout, especially over everyone else. Do you know who that is?
I'm going to say some nationality and get myself in trouble.
Probably.
So I'm not going to do that.
Don't do that.
Holding off. I really was
because it's not an ethnic thing.
No, then I guess
endurance athletes.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
There's a lot of
just
research
pressure,
to support that.
There is true. That's true.
Because when you're an endurance athlete, you can deplete all your glycogen stores, and
fairly rapidly.
Probably a better rapid energy source would be a simple carbohydrate or sugar. But can you use branched chain amino acids for energy and see a benefit if you're an endurance athlete that's depleted? Yes.
I agree with that.
So that's what I would say on that one. However, you make a good point that honestly, should you take a branched chain amino acid supplement? BCAAs are just parts of protein.
Yep.
So theoretically, you could just get alternatively, you could just get enough branched chain amino acids through your diet through whole protein sources. So better food sources of branched chain amino acids, where you'd actually probably get more grams depending on the amount you ate, would be through like eggs, red meat. Those are going to be higher in BCAAs. You could do a supplement like whey protein, which whey protein isolate is. If you're hearing any weird sounds, it's because Shane's moving his microphone because he wants to lay back and recline.
I want to move up, actually. Okay, here we go.
Well, I'll let you do that. So anyway. There's different protein sources, different food sources are going to have different concentrations of branched chain amino acids and all amino acids. But those are some that are going to be best. If you're going to do a protein supplement, then it should be whey protein isolate. That has the highest concentration of branched chain amino acids.
Oh, that's true.
However, there is an argument to be made about that we can talk more in depth upon, that I do want to talk more in depth upon in a full blown episode that's not a Q&A, but I'll touch upon it now. There is
intrigued me.
More recent research.
I'm intrigued.
I can't remember if I've mentioned this to you. It's more recent research that suggests, with obviously the use of simple carbs, that amino acid uptake is dramatically increased more so pre-workout than post-workout when you take raw amino acids in their raw form and with about 30 grams of sucrose or a type of sugar.
That makes sense. Sugars are actually supposed to be beneficial in
but I'm saying like 70% more effective than post-workout.
Really? I don't know if I read this.
I'll have to show you the study, but cool. I want to talk about how people talk about the anabolic window post-workout, but this is a teaser to the next episode where that's going to be talked about.
Well, is it the next episode? All right, whenever it's talking about, I'm just going to but I will ride the proverbial. We'll find out what I'm talking about the second that it comes up.
Yeah. So, but as for the use of BCAAs, yes, they're proven to be effective at what they do. and they,
I think though it's overplayed.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's part of the problem is you have, again, we've talked
supplement companies.
Yeah, we've talked agendas.
Push it hard.
Yeah, we've talked agendas a lot, and I think the agenda behind it a lot of times is to make a sale, not so much about good and bad.
I mean, because when you talk about it, it's a synthesized, manufactured supplement. Instead of just getting the same amount of grams from a normal, natural, higher quality source, it's going to be better if you just do that.
Well, and I just think
unless you're an athlete who's putting it down, timing it down to the very minute detail where you really do get an edge from the exact nutrient timing.
Right. And I was going to say that I just think it's hyped a little bit. It's not that it doesn't work, because it does, according to any study that you can almost pull. Mm-hmm. It does have a benefit, but how much is that benefit, and is it really that big a difference? That's where I question it.
Yeah, you're not going to necessarily notice an effect when you take that supplement, and you're not going to notice an immediate benefit. Where you're going to see the most benefits are taking it over a long period of time, because of the added. Think about it. Like it's an incomplete protein.
I would agree with it with creatine, because creatine, the way its effect is,
you can immediately see a result from creatine.
Yeah, no, and I don't deny that. What I'm saying though is you get it so it's consistently in your system. That would make sense to me. But BCAAs, really?
Well, but I'm saying in terms of, what are they utilized for? If they're not being utilized for energy, they're being utilized for repair and building.
Agreed.
Okay,
but certain amino.
So you're not going to take a dose of branched chain amino acids and notice an immediate energy output boost or something like that. But over a long period of time, you're taking in higher doses of protein or incomplete proteins, to where you could possibly see some muscle development as a result of that if you're taking high doses. But that then it comes in the argument that we just talked about, where you just start taking in more whole food source proteins. If that's your goal, if your goal is building muscle, you don't need to take amino acids as a supplement.
That's what I believe too.
Just get a few more grams of protein in you, but that you're not going to notice a ton of muscle off of like a 5-gram serving of protein.
No, how could
you? You need to take multiple grams, the right amounts we've talked about chronically over a long period of time, and then you'll cumulatively see some muscle development as a result of that. But I think as an acute effect, I don't really see it being that useful, except for preventing some muscle breakdown.
Which is not going to make a big difference on that.
You're not going to notice it doing anything, and you're not going to notice an energy utilization of it unless you're an endurance athlete, probably.
I'd kind of like to see the studies based on complete proteins against BCAAs.
So that's what I'm saying, is that study where I know that we tease you guys. I'm sorry, I know we tease about future episodes sometimes. It's because we want to give a full focused episode towards things, but I do want to save that one. I'll let you read that study, or it's a couple of them I think, and that I have. And
but it's compared directly against proteins themselves.
There's a few factors. It's complete proteins compared to raw amino acids, and it tells you which ones and what amounts.
Right.
And it compares them both pre and post workout. So you get comparison of complete protein taken pre-workout versus complete protein taken post, and you get raw amino acids taken pre versus raw amino acids taken post.
Right.
And obviously, like I said, there's the use to expedite nutrient uptake from the utilization of 30 grams of sucrose. So it's pretty interesting.
No, that's cool.
So. Other things about branched chain amino acids, though, that are beneficial, that I would say help. That actually, I would say that this, again, we're kind of splitting hairs, but because I don't want to say that BCAAs aren't effective, because they're one of the more researched. They're one of the more researched supplements, and I do use them myself, and I do use them pre-workout because of that expedited amino acid uptake that I just talked about, that aids over a long period of time in muscle development. But I just don't want to point you in the wrong direction and say you need to go invest in a bunch of branched chain amino acid supplements, because I don't think that that's the right advice. I think they are beneficial, they have purposes, they've been proven, and of any of the supplements I would recommend, they would be one of the more towards the top ones. But other things that other benefits are going to be, it can aid in recovery and reduce fatigue. So taking,
which is true,
like let's compare it to this way. Let's say you don't take anything post workout. Okay, if there's a study out there, probably is taking nothing post workout for a few hours in terms of food or supplementation versus taking branched chain amino acids post workout, you're going to expedite your recovery faster.
Well, and not even talking BCAAs, but you talk glutamine. Glutamine is an amino that has been shown to assist in recovery.
Really? Because I thought we had this conversation.
It's been shown to. I'm not a big believer.
Because so I used to believe like it's a religion or something.
Not glucosamine. I'm saying glutamine.
I know. I'm saying glutamine too. The research on glutamine as a muscle repairing or basically a muscle benefiting amino acid, supplementing it is actually inconclusive. The majority of the research supports it as gut health and immune health.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that's what it's always been used for.
Oh yeah, has it been used for that? Yes. Right. Yeah.
So if I misstated that, I didn't mean to misstate.
You're good.
That.
I thought you were saying that it was effective as a recovery supplement.
That's what people talk about, is using glutamine.
Yeah.
For recovery aid and.
Yeah, so I was curious about that because I'd heard mixed messages on that, and so I researched glutamine a lot deeper, and with some pretty reputable sources, found that it's pretty inconclusive on honestly, expediting recovery.
Well, a lot of the things that have been said about a lot of amino acids have been fairly inconclusive. The only, like I said, BCAAs have been shown to do a lot of things in studies that are pretty defined, that they're still usable. Yeah, leaky gut syndrome for glutamine. That's interesting.
Yeah, that could be related to a gut flora or leaky gut episode,
which we still need to do.
Yes,
on our part.
That was kind of me reminding myself and you that we need to do that.
In my face,
Londa, we have not forgotten.
No, actually, I talk about it off and on a lot. Matter of fact, leaky gut.
You do?
Yeah, people keep asking me about it.
Oh, really? Oh, then it's definitely something we should cover for people since it's at top of mind. So there you have it, Abri, on your functions and implementation of branched chain amino acids or BCAAs. Effective, yes. Heavily studied, yes. I take them personally. Do I think you need them right now? No. You'd mostly see a benefit if you were a top performing athlete, and I would just say focus on getting this. Here's the thing: when it comes to supplementation, it is to supplement your diet. That's the purpose. If you take every person, when they, in general, but especially when you start a fitness journey or set new goals or whatever, you need to assess your diet and assess where you're deficient and where you might be over consuming, and balance that out. Once that's balanced out, it's quite easy to hit a good amount of branched chain amino acids and essential protein intake. It's not actually that hard diet-wise. Once you've fulfilled those needs, you don't need supplementation once those needs are met, regardless of the nutrient. And so that's when you say, okay, am I continuously or chronically missing certain nutrients from my diet? That's when you want to look at a supplement, like especially like a vitamin deficiency or different things like that are maybe sometimes a little bit harder, and sometimes they're still easy to take care of. But that's when you want to start looking at, okay, here's a good example: vegans. A vegan should much more likely consider a branched chain amino acid supplement, or honestly, a protein supplement.
Creatine.
That too. Yep.
Big time creatine.
And B vitamins. Those
absolutely.
are some of the and iron. Those are some of the main things that vegans get really deficient in, because
iron
those
especially.
are predominant in meats and animal proteins. Now, it would be best if they would just eat some animal proteins, but since that's part of their belief system, that they don't do that, then that's fine. But you need to look at plant-based alternatives, you could. Some people aren't as strict. Like, they don't want to see the animal killed, but they're fine consuming like a whey protein because it's milk derived.
We had to talk about Jim Gaffigan, and then you bring this up, and that just goes right into his humor.
Oh yeah,
because he talks about being either a vegetarian or a vegan. He says, I'm a loose. I mean, I'm not really a strict one.
Really?
And he says, I eat things like beef and chicken, and yeah,
Excuse me.
he goes through it. It's pretty fun.
That's funny.
Jim's hilarious.
No, he's great. I love his comedy.
Yeah, me as well.
But yeah, so there you have it. Just start to focus on getting diverse complete protein sources in your diet, and you're going to be fine. Unless you're already a top performing athlete, and I think Shane said that you're somewhat newer to fitness. Is that correct? Or
It's not like she doesn't work out, but she's getting into it more than she has
cool.
been, so
yeah, no, great question though, because BCAAs are a very popular supplement.
Yep.
But you're right, Shane. They're a little bit over marketed.
Well, if I was gonna supplement something and go into working out and stuff, I'd probably do things like creatines. I would do
creatine for sure.
Whey proteins. I would.
The only problem, like we've talked about in the past, is
really.
you get into all these additives, fillers, artificial flavors, colors, sweeteners.
They add a lot of sugars to creatines because they use it for.
Because dude, I know creatine tastes like crap without it.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
I'm glad that I do the mixture that I have, and I'm gonna save that. That's my little recipe. We'll release that later.
Beautiful. That'll be him. I won't release that. I don't do that. I admittedly do not mix them.
Anyway, but yeah, without flavoring, yeah, they can be pretty
amino acids.
Unappetizing.
If you take aminos alone,
yeah,
everything I've heard about that you might as well be eating really just dirt, gross, crappy.
I think dirt might have more flavor.
It would be better, not more, just less nasty.
Yeah, I mask mine really well.
Well done.
So, next question, Sue. She says, "What is your opinion on the Whole Life Challenge as a program, as an overall mental and physical reset or renewal program? I tried it a couple years ago and I liked the whole person approach. If a person didn't think they could afford to hire a personal trainer, would this be a good option and general guide for them?" And yes.
And so you said yes.
Well, so
that was not an answer. That was just a. I finished reading the question.
Oh, I did say that. Yes. Thanks for your observation, Shane.
Just pointing that out.
I think people need to know that.
I just thought it was humorous.
So the Whole Life Challenge looks at it's an approach based off of. I'm pulling up my notes on it here. Boom. So it's pretty much an 8-week online-based type of program. It's really oriented around a community and sense of support.
It is, which is sweet.
Which is an essential component. I think it's one thing... This gets me... This is the only thing that I've got hung up on when I've thought about group versus one-on-one. Because undoubtedly, people will see better results if they apply what they learn with the right one-on-one personal trainer. You get personalized focus.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Yeah, the programming is all about you. It's not about sharing the time with other people. However, the communal, social, motivational, competitive aspect of the right type of people in a workout together, there's a lot of research done on the adherence to weight loss weight loss protocols and interventions that integrate a social aspect and a community aspect. There's way better adherence in those groups.
This is the biggest contributor to why we've had such a boon in CrossFit, is because of the attachment we have with the group.
For sure.
If you took away the attachment, I don't think CrossFit would have been anywhere near as big. And again, I'm not hacking CrossFit on that, but that's
something good they've done.
That's a beautiful thing.
They've created and I don't even mean this in a bad way in this context. I call it cultic.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that right now in a bad way. Sometimes I talk about CrossFit in a bad way, but from the standpoint, the modality aside and the safety and the risk and that whatever aside, it as a community, is exceptional. I mean, because people. You could there's a couple of people that are friends of mine that I went to high school with, and when they travel, they go to CrossFits all over the place. Mm-hmm. It's now this part. It's been integrated as part of their life, and that's cool.
Yep.
It's cool to see that someone can adopt this social aspect into their fitness, to where now they have all this excuse or this reason to connect with so many different people, and that's great. That's one of the aspects I love about boot camps. And
boot camp's a little different beast than CrossFit. It's the same concept,
okay,
smaller.
Whatever word you want to put on it, but social group training.
I agree
the same.
with that.
It's all
Sure,
the same
for sure.
business
Absolutely.
model, essentially.
Yep.
And similar structure for the social aspect, integrating
Right.
the social aspect.
Right.
And I think that's great. Like we've said, CrossFit as a training modality, we have our issues with,
Well,
but.
Like I said before on it, and like I'll probably say 1,000 more times in the future, but the biggest problem with CrossFit is not necessarily the beast of it. It's the fact that potential risk of injury. The mindset behind getting a group behind you is phenomenally good for keeping people motivated. Because I think CrossFit's got great motivation. It's a little bit high intensity. In my opinion, it's a little too much intensity.
Well, I know there's been
Overall.
there's a certain profile of person that is turned off by CrossFit. It's too intimidating.
Absolutely, but that's not even what I mean. I'm saying for an injury factor is when you start looking at the intensity level and the movements is what causes the problem. The culture around it is actually kind of impressive. You know, they get a little extreme on what their diet plans are because they're very paleo based.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm not saying I'm a disbeliever in paleo either.
But for
'cause
that
it's closer to
modality,
right. But it's driven. That's what I'm saying, though. It's driven by the society a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's in this same concept, though it's not the same beast because you're not really closely doing it with them. When you have that people watching out for each other, trying to motivate them to stay with the program and move forward, it's always, in my opinion, that's a better movement for a reason to give a reason to do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's just what the science shows.
Right.
We're is it gregarious is the term used? I always mix it up. I want to say like Gregorian or something.
Yeah, Gregorian is
Gregorian monks. We're Gregorian monks by
that
nature.
That would mess.
Yeah,
with the
gregarious.
Yes.
We're tribal type people. We naturally tend to want to group together.
Yep.
And so some people can feel isolated when they're. I mean, especially in a gym setting, it's intimidating, man. Like we're not as intimidated in gyms because that's our home. Mm-hmm. You know, we were forged in the fires of the gyms, and I love going to new gyms and trying out things and talking to people and whatever. But for some people, it's super intimidating. So like having a safe place where this community of familiar people that are, inviting, what you sign up and everyone's like excited to meet you, mm-hmm. and they support you, and now you have friends, and
they want you to go forward, and they want to make it better.
They text you, are you going to class tomorrow?
Yep.
It's a great aspect of
mm-hmm.
the fitness industry that I think is it's becoming a lot more popular now.
I agree with that anyway.
Boutique group, specific boutique group training of sorts is popping up all over the place.
Well, if you take the demographics, though, of gyms in general, you take a more family-based gym, and they have that kind of feeling anyway.
Yeah, like where you work out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Where I used to work. So.
Right. It has more of a feeling where you want to have that relationship and you want to talk to people. Now, granted, it makes your workouts go longer, and you're not as intense about them usually. I mean, unless you put on headsets, you end up talking to guys that you see there all the time.
Yeah.
Different demographics, and you're going to see a different reaction. But CrossFit seems to hold that across the board. And this, like I said, this exercise concept has, from what I can see of it, because I haven't dealt with it directly, but it has a very similar nature. It's just not one-on-one. It's internet based.
Yeah, it's virtual.
It's virtual.
So that's the one thing. So this is an online based thing. It's and
the challenges.
In order
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, in order to engage in it, you got to tap in. You got
mm-hmm.
to log on. I'm sure they have various systems established to help prompt you to engage and things like that. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts on that though? Like a virtual community, everything's going virtual.
The ins and outs. Yeah,
do you think that it's as effective? Do you think that it, even if it's not,
can't be? It can't be because it's distant. Because so let's say
you don't get the face to face. You don't get that emotional connection.
Let's take the trainer thing about this. I know you want to deal with this in more in depth at another time, but let's talk a little bit about this directly.
Connecting with the trainer.
Not even that. When you have someone you have to face.
Yeah.
as opposed to someone you have to, the equivalent of text.
Yeah.
Even if you're
Check
showing
in,
pictures, you're just checking in with them. So,
You're right.
so when you talk to somebody face to face like a trainer, you're going to have less capacity inside to lie, because they're going to see it and you're going to feel that they see it.
Yeah, it's that invisible shield or of it's kind of like I don't mean to tangent, but you know how like cyberbullying, right? How people cyberbully the crap out of people because they're behind the safety of a keyboard and a screen. But they do stuff that is like insane that you would never do to a person say or do to a person in front of them in their face.
Rarely.
And so not on like to go down that road, but it's like because of that disconnect, even though you're connected, you're still super disconnected.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have the same nature that you're facing something. You are talking at a safe distance where you can say anything you want and get away with it, and feel like you can get away with anything that you throw out there because you're not connected to it directly.
Yeah.
You can have the connection. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of MyFitnessPal. It's something that I got affiliated with and I'm pretty close to. Now, granted, I'm not, because of the nature of doing this and all this stuff related to what we're doing now.
You haven't been as active, right?
I can't be as active.
Yeah.
It's just it would be insane for me to be active there anymore, and it makes it really difficult in that camp to actually go in there and do that. So I've kind of disconnected a little bit myself. But you get connected with the people that are on there, and you have true relationships, and you get real friendships that are across
like a ton of our listeners are only listeners because you connected with them on MyFitnessPal and they carried over.
A few anyway. So
a few of our big ones.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
In fact, I have really good friends in Australia who I don't talk to anymore hardly at all, and I just
rude.
Yeah, less than I would like to. They're both cool. I have two pretty good friends. I would call them pretty good friends in Australia, but yeah, no, that's the whole thing, right? And so you still have a connection, but if you want to become fake in it, you can start being fake as you want to be because of the distance. Mm-hmm. And I think to compare it to the capacity of doing personal training, the problem is the nature of it is a good beast. And I want to, again, I don't want to walk away from this yet, but it's a good beast, and it has a good basis on what it's doing. It gives you some movement. You know, we jokingly brought up Pokemon Go, and a lot of that stuff. But what does it do? It gives you the capacity to move, right? So with what I saw of it, what does it do? It gives you real quick workouts that you can do to keep yourself going and to get movement. Is that good? It's better than if you don't.
Yeah.
You know, and so like I said, the community side of it is still a bit removed because of how it's set up, which is fine. You know, doing challenges I think are phenomenally cool. These challenges, do I think it compares to going to a trainer? It can't. There's just no way it could.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I think that's the only thing I would say affiliated with this that would be negative. Other than that, I think the concept behind
it's not that good. It's negative, it's that it's effective, just not as effective.
Yeah, it's less.
Yeah.
It's not as
because
it does,
you know, and it's that double-edged sword of like, well, because there's more virtual easy options, are people going to gravitate towards that versus doing something in person because they're uncomfortable, or because we have that available, are more people going to get involved in fitness than would not normally? Well,
then taking that as an example, so when you're looking at that, you can say, hey, you know, some of these people are not going to get movement at all. They're going to watch TV. They're going to do other things, and this will make it so that they move more. That's great. That's what I'm saying. That's kind of where I was going with it too. Is does it gives more opportunity for movement for people that don't necessarily know where to go with it. And
I just wonder if people will. I'm just being weird and skeptical for some reason. I wonder if people will default to this because it's easier than physically taking yourself to a local boot camp or group place. Or do you think it wouldn't? You don't think it will affect that?
I would argue that. Here's what I would think overall that would happen.
I'm just wondering.
Well, no. This is what I would believe. So, and again, this is a guess because we're not going based off any studies at all. But here's what I would perceive: if they keep doing it, it will motivate them to do more. And so...
Yeah, because confidence, competence.
Absolutely.
The more competent and they become at fitness, and the better they get, the more confident they will become, the more likely they'll be to join a gym or a studio where they're group training.
Absolutely.
And do more fitness things and more social fitness things.
Right. So do I think it would be good for that? Yeah, absolutely I do. If they do it, it's going to lead to more.
Yeah.
If they don't do it, it'll just be something else that they started to do and it became pointless to do. And like I said, I think that has more to do with the fact they're not as accountable because of the distance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they feel feel less accountability.
I think that this kind of program will cater to probably two types of people. It'll cater to the person who's a little intimidated, who's not ready to do something in person, which is great.
Sure.
And then I think that it can help that person grow. But I also think it might cater to the person who it's an easier path, you know.
Yes, well, there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
But like I said, even the easier path people, what's going to ultimately happen is as they do it, if they continue to do it, it will open up the doors to be doing more. And even if they do more stuff that's online, they'll do more activity and they'll do more movement, which is not going to be a bad thing because our bodies are made to move.
Yeah.
If you don't move, bluntly, it's death.
Well, you feel better.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Straight up. Even if you're very unhealthy, if you're moving at a specific level for where you're at, your body will naturally produce chemicals that will cause you to feel better.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I said before, dude. If you have someone who so doesn't move much at all, they don't get up and they use a remote control all the time to change the TV. They have people bring them food while they're watching television. They just, if they were to sit in a couch theoretically forever, you get them to move at all. If they get up and turn the TV on and off, that's a better thing. And if you those kinds of things is a stepping stone to moving.
That transitions perfectly into the next aspect of this program, which is they focus on implementing small daily changes to create healthier, happier lives, is the way that they put it.
Right.
That has been what I have found to be most effective in personal training.
Yeah.
Is a lot of personal trainers or programs even take a new client and they just throw them in.
Which I think
they're
is
just
crazy.
Like, this is the way to do it. Here's the formula. Here's all the steps. We're going to take these massive change right now, like quantum leaps mentality.
Right.
And a lot, when you compare that to other analogies of how humans work or how other systems work, it's not that effective. It might be effective in the short term, but adherence is really hard long term. When you implement small change over time, it's gradual and it's way easier to stay consistent because the perceived change is a lot different. It's a lot less impacting and jarring.
No, I can see that.
I mean, rather than coming and saying, okay, you're going to do this many minutes of cardio, you're going to lift weights these days every week, you're going to eat perfectly clean now, you're going to track your food. Instead of just doing all that and someone comes and says, okay, you're going to come to your training sessions, I'm going to take care of that for you. I just want you to focus on drinking water this week. Just drink plenty of water because you've been underhydrating. You told me you only drink 2 glasses a day and soda. Just start replacing some of that soda with water and increase your total water intake. That's easy. They just start focusing on that, they're naturally going to start changing some processes in their body. Next week, just focus on getting an extra cup of veggies per day.
Well, you want to add to it though.
Well, I know,
Keep
like
water
you have to remain
this.
Consistent from the previous week or day of goal or whatever.
Exactly, and I agree with that completely because if you do that kind of stuff, it's going to make you move forward. If you
can't just ditch the past week's thing and go to the new thing,
which some people might lean towards doing because I don't have to worry about that, so I'm going to not even worry about that. But the mentality of butchering somebody when they come in. That drives them away because they don't have the competence, they don't have the capacity to do those exercises and stuff, and their body can't handle that kind of pressure. And so when they come in and go into a full-blown program, today, it is, in my opinion, bluntly, it's terrible overall for the person because some people might be able to push through it. And again, do I think it's the most effective way to do it? Absolutely not. No matter what, if they can do it or not. And working your way into the exercise program is a better concept than it is. So doing it in stages is far
But it depends on the
superior.
goal. And when I say that, what I mean is for the majority of people, and for the majority of people probably listening to this, you need to do a gradual transition. If you want permanent, long-term change, if you want lifestyle change, then that's the way to go.
Yep.
If you want a short-term transformation, if you're a athlete that's in and out of seasonal training.
Well, okay,
if
that's
if you're doing a competition, there's certain populations where
no, you're right.
A rapid change. They'll see a benefit. They'll see beneficial change from short-term rapid kind of jarring lifestyle shifts, but it's not long term. It's very difficult to make that long term sustainable. So I think it's important that people know that like you can do some of those other things, but just know they're short term. Well, I think,
the funny thing is though, let's stay on that topic. We're gearing away from this, but
it's all related. I think
it's related, but this is going to gear away from it a little bit. So, but here's the thing: is that's when you start worrying about metabolic damage. When you start doing that,
depending on the severity of what you do,
absolutely. And so you go and you start blowing through these workouts. Two things are going to happen: your body's going to start reacting. You go into a defensive mode because you're killing it. If you go in and do these high pressure things,
if you go into what's commonly popular,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
okay? Because
athlete training is periodized specifically to avoid things like metabolic damage and performance decreases.
Agreed. I agree with that. That's more or less proven. But like I said, when you start talking about these metamorphic changes to the level of when we were talking about stars and stuff. The guy that is doing the training understands that concept hugely.
Yeah.
So if when he's doing that, he understands you have to have more rest, you have to have more food, you have to go through all this stuff and make it work out right. And a lot of these trainers that throw people into these programs don't comprehend that the food needs to go up dramatically to make this survivable, and because they're trying to have the guy lose weight or whatever.
Yeah, so they throw them into these shock programs that produce immediate results, but then end up with the whole yo-yo thing.
Yeah. Yes, and so that's when you start having these reactions that happen on a hormonal level. You have all these different things that start to really affect them. That's the reason why I think slow and steady is the best way to go when you're working.
It is for sure.
To start with,
it is the best way.
You get bigger.
It's the best way to go for the majority of people, probably for the majority of listeners, and for long-term sustainability of a lifestyle change.
Right.
And then there's some minute, small populations that can see benefits for certain reasons from short duration, phased things.
Usually it's for a legitimate reason, though. Like I said, I was going to dispute you, but you brought up a really good one. You brought up especially professional athletes, because a lot of times in their off seasons, some of them keep training and actually, will keep their level high.
Yeah,
most of them drop off because they want to take a break. And I don't butcher them over that. I get it, but the reality is then you have your spikes, you have your ups and your downs.
But I don't know most because I don't train a lot of athletes, but some athletes obviously will know that they're going to go through those periods,
right?
And they anticipate it and they plan appropriately,
right?
Or they have trainers and coaches that train them appropriately. And there are some that don't. There are some that overtrain and.
It happens in every aspect of life, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's just going to be the way it is. But, not to fall, again, I don't want to fall too far off the train on this. So, but
I love your analogies.
The nature of this is such that I think it's a fairly simple way to move forward.
Yeah.
But comparing it to a personal trainer, since that's kind of what Sue was going for in this, I don't think there's the extreme variant between the two is such that it isn't comparable. They're completely different. I think it is a great foundation.
I think
to start moving forward, but that's where I would leave what I saw of it.
Totally see someone starting this program and going through it for multiple cycles or whatever. Sure. I don't know exactly how it's structured other than these components we're talking about.
Right.
But based off just these ideas, depending on its programming exactly, totally seeing a complete lifestyle shift that was permanent,
which is beautiful, and I think that's glorious. Like I said,
I think that
it's just not comparable to what it would be with a personal trainer,
the right personal trainer.
Okay, that's fair anyway.
Yeah, because there's a lot of personal trainers that don't incorporate hardly any of this stuff.
Right.
I think one of the key things with this one is that the key thing is the support. It's the ease of implementation, and one aspect Sue wanted us to cover was its whole person approach, the whole human approach, because they score you every day based off of 7 key areas of health, and well-being. Nutrition, exercise, mobility, sleep, hydration, lifestyle practices, and reflection. And I think from what I've seen training people, fitness is a super psychological thing. It's a super emotional thing. Sure. I've had clients quite often break down in tears because of in good tears, bad tears. You know what I mean? Because of dramatic changes that have taken place in their physical fitness.
Part of the challenges.
And
Overcoming
some
challenges
people,
is awesome.
You know, I had someone come to me recently that that is a very fitness oriented person. And they do some pretty incredible stuff, like fitness-wise, just very challenging and athletic type stuff. And unfortunately, they suffer from rheumatoid arthritis and other conditions that just I mean, I don't know this person very well yet, but to me, they seem to feel held back or almost kind of imprisoned by that. But they want to. They want to flourish in fitness, and it's a very, you can tell this person is just has gone through the ringer with it. You know what I mean? And I feel for that person. And people think that working out or hiring a trainer or doing a weight loss program, whatever, is just like it's like a physical endeavor. It's not. It's a super mental, emotional, psychological endeavor.
It's whole body.
And I think it's important that any program, a group training program, an online program like this, a one-on-one personal trainer needs to know that and needs to address the psychological component.
Well,
and I think that's good that they are trying to do that
to a small extent.
I mean, within scope.
That's what I was going to say. To a small extent, you're kind of a pseudo therapist in an extent, because
trainers often joke about that.
Well, and because you automatically fall into that category. I mean, you open up a lot of feelings and stuff when you start dealing with anything that's hormonally based. Which almost anything dealing with the body is going to be hormonally based.
You're literally altering your hormone profile.
Exactly right. And so what ends up happening is that it's going to open doors, and that's going to come with it. And so, but yes, anybody who really understands how. Well, even our podcast, the whole point behind this was related to the whole body. We talked about, like I said, you and I talked about this before we had gotten to the point where we were going to start it, and we were trying to see if we were going to go and narrow the scope or keep it wide. Yeah. Right, and if you remember, I said, no, we need to keep it wide because we need to have an open door. Fitness is an overall body thing. It's you can talk about a lot of things. I mean, technically speaking, we could talk technology. We can talk. There's so many avenues that are related to the fitness of the world in general that if you shorten the scope too much, that made it so we didn't have a margin to talk about a lot of things that I thought we needed to.
Yeah.
And this concept is exactly the same concept because I think it's very holistically looking at the person.
Yeah.
You know, and I really believe that's the basis of the way that you need to look at it when you're going forward on anything related to this concept.
Yeah, I mean, like when it comes to things like eating disorders, more severe issues, people, body dysmorphic disorder, trying to think of other examples, orthorexia, which is not technically yet an eating disorder, but could be viewed as such. People that end up getting into certain obsessive fitness behaviors, that becomes an area where a knowledgeable personal trainer should probably not refer that person away from them, but should advise that person see a therapist in conjunction.
Sure.
But if you're trained or educated well enough to deal with those situations from a training standpoint, then definitely addressing the psychological wellness factor would be talking about companionship, support, advice, coaching, positive reinforcement,
heavily in coaching.
Yeah, especially with body image issues and eating disorders, which are very common in this realm. So, definitely a trainer should keep their scope of practice within check.
Right.
But doesn't mean they can't address or implement the psychological and social components of that dramatically help improve fitness programs.
For sure.
I think it should totally be done. And so that's why it's great to see it in this program.
Yep.
And I just like all the different areas. I mean, it's obvious nutrition needs to be addressed. Exercise, physical activity needs to be addressed. Mobility was a great thing to see in there. I'm kind of curious exactly what they mean by that. as a separate component from.
They had stretching. I went and looked up some of the stuff on there. So they had stretching. They had there was a lot of keys to it. Yeah, there was a bunch of things that were attached to it. It was very, very quick. What I saw of it, like 10-minute workouts. But it had more features to it than you would see in most programs. Like I said, overall the concept's good. I think the biggest thing is it's just not going to be the same level of personalization for one, because you can't
on the program
itself.
Yeah,
that's like inevitable. I said, it's a challenge.
Yeah,
being a challenge is making it so that you're trying to incorporate it and make it more of your lifestyle change.
And actually, that's assuming that everyone's doing the same workouts. I agree with that. Since we haven't enrolled in it, I don't know if there is any personalization aspect to it.
Now, granted, I looked on some stuff related to looked like it was affiliated with the actual challenge base. I'm sure it would vary depending on the people that are putting the challenges out, because I'm sure it's based on, like, if you will, an online trainer.
And they may not even have an actual program. They totally could. This is purely just observational because we haven't delved too deep into it.
Right.
We just wanted to address the question, so we briefly researched it. But
I honestly researched.
They could totally have a program that everyone does the same thing. They could have a program that maybe has some personalization, or they could not have a program at all, and they just give you points if you log that you exercised of some kind. So, or maybe that's just tracking physical activity too.
No, agreed on that too.
But yeah, it just was interesting to see mobility as a separate category.
Well, and like I said, it looks like they're trying to make the whole person look is what the basis of it is. And like I said, I think that's great. But in comparison, like I said, based back on the question, it isn't comparable. They're two different beasts entirely. But do I think this would be a great thing to precede potentially working with a trainer?
Oh yeah,
it would be great to precede it. I just don't think it's comparable.
Yeah, because hiring a trainer can be an intimidating process for people. I know that for sure. So if they need to engage in somewhat virtual program like this, to where it's not quite that of an intimidating leap for them,
right? They
can do it with a sense of safety, but also they're stretching themselves, being a little uncomfortable. That's great, and that
I agree with that.
That reinforces good behavior, which is, like we said, taking small steps, small, consistent, positive steps and changes moving forward, versus trying to take too big of leaps and falling out of it.
Cliff.
Yeah.
Yep. You hit a cliff and boom, gone.
Yeah. Yep. Because a person could totally jump over to a personal trainer after that.
Yep.
Which would hopefully be the ultimate goal.
Yep.
Cool. Anyway, we're about at time. We're at almost an hour here. So anyway, anything you wanted to add on to that?
No, other than Michelle and Lorena, Australia's cool. I wish I could visit.
I'm going to say this for Shane. He will visit. It's only a matter of time. Now he's committed via me.
Sweet.
Anyway. All right, guys. If you want your questions answered, just go ahead and send them via email to taylor@metabolicradio.com or shane@metabolicradio.com, or submit them on the Facebook group, Metabolic Radio Private Forum on Facebook, or go to metabolicradio.com and click on the Q&A tab.
Gotta go big.
Submit your questions there.
Just throw them out in the air.
Okay, guys. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Shane and I hope you learned something new and exciting today about your own health and fitness. Head over to metabolicradio.com. There you'll find our bios and our results-driven programs that are designed to help teach you everything you need to know when it comes to getting real permanent results. You can also sign up for our newsletter to get free weekly updates. To chat with Shane or I, just email us at taylor@metabolicradio.com or shane@metabolicradio.com. We would love to hear from you. You can also join the conversation on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search for Metabolic Radio Private Forum. There you can request to join the group. We would love to add you to the conversation and answer your questions on the show. And hey, if you like our podcast, please help us grow our community by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. We would really appreciate your help. Thanks again so much for all your support and your listenership. Now go out there and spread the good word of fitness.